Hey guys, it's Derek from Pacific Coast Auto here in Japan, and we're looking at a 1992 Mazda Autozam AZ-1. Probably one of the most interesting K cars that's only available from Japan. This one here in 1992, it was bought from a dealer here in Japan, and we're going to export this one to the USA. Now the AZ-1 was created during a time where Japanese companies had pocketfuls of money, and this really shows. The engine comes from Suzuki, and it's an F6A 3-cylinder turbo engine that is mounted in the middle. And so it's a mid-engine, 5-speed manual, turbocharged with intercooler. The car also has gull-wing doors, and pretty light, pretty small, pretty fast little car. Amazing all the way around. The fact that you can get these in the USA is pretty crazy now that it's 25 years old. And taking a look at the vehicle, it's hard to believe that it is 25 years old. Complete plastic body, and so rust is not a problem. And we bought a couple of these, but I've never seen one in as good of condition as this one is. And so let's take a look. So engine runs normally. It does do a little bit of a cough here or there, but probably needs a little bit of a tune-up. You can see the really shiny, nice aftermarket exhaust down there, which is completely visible from the rear. Very cool looking. Now it's got 2 resonators, and then the end is a glass pack, I believe. And company name, Autojuvel. Don't know about it. Probably a company that specializes in either exhaust or parts for the AZ-1. These engines are really good for tuning. They rev up to, I believe, 9,000 RPM, and so they are a Suzuki engine. Their know-how from motorbike engines definitely comes into play. Officially 64 horsepower. I've driven one before that felt more like 80 or 90 horsepower, and then it's pretty easy to modify because it is an original turbocharged engine. Gonna lower the hood here. We'll take a look at the exterior. First off, going to the front. Now, because this vehicle came from a dealer instead of the auction like most of our vehicles, I don't have an auction sheet for the inspection. And so I'm just going to show you what I see on the car. Now, we've bought a few of these. They've usually been in pretty rough condition because after 25 years old, and for a long time, they were kind of a quirky car that people didn't pay attention to. And so what that meant is most people who owned them played around with them, but never really treated them in the same way that the owners of, say, a GTR or Porsche 911 would treat their cars. And so most of them turned into poor condition, were written off, were exported. There still are several of them here in Japan, and they're starting to get more of a community, I believe, now that they're becoming a rarer car. So prices are on the way up right now, but I still think that they're a pretty reasonable price for what you get. Now, it can be hard to tell in the video, but body size is basically the same as an original Mini, like that one over there. And so it makes it a really weird car to actually see driving on the street because it looks like a typical supercar in terms of body styling, and yet the size is so minuscule compared to a regular car. Like, look at those wheels on it. They look like they're a pretty aggressive wheel, and yet they're only a 14. Okay, so it looks like they've converted over to an HID headlight here. There are 2 different hoods on it. This one here is, I believe, the later model hood. Has a different hood scoop on it. Now, the funny thing about the hood scoop is it doesn't actually feed anything. It's just basically for your intake of the heater and air conditioning unit. Front bumper is in perfect condition, even though it's fairly low. And then the 14-inch wheels are really nice. They have a couple of rock chips on them, but they suit the car really well. The fitment is pretty extreme. Here in Japan, you can't have the tires stick out at all. You can see that they're right there on the threshold. And so a very good look. And just look at that again from afar. Cool looking wheels. Okay, looking at the rear spoiler, it's an aftermarket one, exclusive for this car, or custom made for the car maybe. And it has a very steep angle on it compared to rear spoilers usually. And that gives it kind of a special look, kind of a Lancia Delta look. In fact, it would be cool to have some writing on the underside there like you always see on Lancia Deltas. Taillights are Ferrari-like. And then at the bottom here it says Autozam in the cover that goes over the exhaust pipes. I have driven these, but I've never driven one of them while I was angry and trying to drive quickly, so I don't really know that much about the handling. I would assume it handles pretty well. It's McPherson struts all the way around on a car that can't be more than 700 kilograms. And I would assume that it's probably pretty good handling. I've been told by someone who's probably watching this video that they're really, really fun to drive and maybe one of the best handling K cars out there. Okay, so going inside the vehicle, first off you'll notice that there are no door handles on the side. If you want to unlock it, the lock is right here at the front, and it's only about 35 centimeters off the ground, and so you have to bend down in order to unlock it. To open the door, there's a handle here, and you got to pop it and then pull it up. These doors, on many of them, tend to be kind of misaligned, kind of door handles don't work very well, but on this one they work perfectly. There's a full glass roof, and you have these cards that you can take off if you want. Okay. Going into the car, we have an aftermarket Momo steering wheel. There's no power steering on the car, and so having a good steering wheel is important. Steering box feels nice and tight, and the steering is not difficult even though there is no power steering. These seats are the original seats, but they've been wrapped in a new seat covers. I don't know the condition of the seats underneath because you have to take the seats out in order to take the covers off, which I'm not going to do. Because they're seat covers, they look a little bit bunchy in some areas, but the typical seats in these cars fade really quickly. The regular seats are color matched to the car, so if it's a red car, you would get red seats, and they're kind of red and black in the same style as these seat covers are. And so it is a pretty cool looking seat. They're not adjustable reclining, and so you have to put up with the seating position that you get with them, but it's a good seating position. Feels kind of like a smaller NSX in the way that the seats feel compared to the pedals and the steering wheel. Okay, now the front hood can open, but the hood release lever has been taken off, and so can't actually open that hood. That's probably why the spare tire is here, which is kind of a weird place for the spare tire. Usually it goes underneath the hood. And then you have right behind your head speakers. Very cool, although could be pretty noisy in that location. Now you also have speakers down in the sills. You can see down there. They're not actually in the door, they're in the sill. The door itself is rather small, and then the window has a small opening and it's manual crank windows. So the sills are tall and wide for structural integrity. Makes it pretty difficult to get into the car unless you're a small person. This is a foot first kind of car, not a bum first and then feet in. If you do it that way, you're probably going to get stuck. And so to get in, foot goes in and then sit down, and then other foot. And steering wheel on this one is not that difficult to get in. On some of the other videos for these vehicles I have on the channel, I showed that getting in can be difficult with the seat being in the full back position. Your foot has to be behind the pedals down there like this in order to get in. This one, that's not the case. So getting in here, this is pretty funny. White gauges, and look at this. Rice rocket. Isn't that funny? I wonder if that's tongue-in-cheek or if they don't actually know the connotation. And then it's an insert that goes onto a regular black gauge set, and it illuminates through like clear sections in the plastic, and so I think it's going to look really nice when it's nighttime. It kind of looks quite nice like this, and you can see the red line there at 9,000, and it goes all the way up to 11 on the gauge there. Pretty crazy. Okay, the interior is tight, not very much space in here. Aftermarket CD player. Controls for the AC here, and this one here is also Rice Rocket. Cool. So the AC works, that's great. A lot of K cars, the AC doesn't seem to work very well, and I don't know why that is. This one works fine. Okay, aftermarket shift knob, and I have to say, this might sound a little bit funny, but the large shift knob feels great on the small car. It's sort of like the same size as a Volkswagen GTI, if you've ever driven one of those. It has a really meaty feel to it, and I've always felt like the shifting in these doesn't feel good, but on this one it does, and it feels like the bushings have been replaced, and with the big knob it kind of tells your arm to be more muscular, and that's really the way that you want to shift these. And so I think this is a big improvement. The vehicle doesn't smell like anything like cigarettes, and I'm just going to take this. What's that? Clips or something? There's the cigarette lighters in the cigarette ashtray. Wow, 2! Lucky! And pop that in. Okay, and Allen keys. Super lucky. Okay, so a lot of people don't know that we deal in dealer cars too. So 98% of our sales are from auctions, but if you can't find what you're looking for at an auction, then you can buy from a dealer. You find the cars that you like, we can call the dealer, we can negotiate prices. A lot of dealers in Japan don't talk down prices, just as the way that Japanese do business. We can sometimes get some discount for you, sometimes not. It really depends on the dealer. Okay. And I love the center tag on the steering wheel. I think that's just a really cool thing on steering wheels. You see all these new ones with a flat bottom. Flat bottom steering wheels drive me nuts. I think that they're completely useless and uncomfortable to drive in, but I really like the ones with the center tape. Okay, we got a bit of a mark on the dashboard there from where something was stuck to it at one point. Okay, and a new shift boot here, and a new shift or e-brake boot and shift boot. Okay, getting out of the car. Now, a lot of the doors way up there. Oh, to close the door, they have this pull thing. You might not be able to see it right there, but it looks like that. And it looks like those have been replaced with matching red stitching with these ones here, so very cool. But the door requires a bit of a yank to get this down. And then headroom, I'll show you here. I got about 3 centimeters here, and I'm 5'10", with a shorter torso than average, I think. Long legs, short torso kind of guy. Okay, now the doors on many of the AZ-1s sag down, like the door dampers don't hold the doors up. These ones are no problem at all. They're very strong and very nice. We got a bunch of information on the vehicle here, and oil change. This one here is the model specifications. Okay. Actually, I'm not going to close that because we need to put this in. Has the logo on the top. That's cool. And I'll just keep this in here until I pack up this car. Okay, so usually we'll see these with really burnt paint. The paint on this one is gorgeous and nice. It looks like it's probably been repainted at some point, but the repaint was done well, and that's really good to see because repaints in Japan are usually not done that well. To find a good one is rare, and this one looks like it's been done really well, if in fact it has been repainted, which I think it has. Good looks all around, small car, something very interesting and unique from Japan. We aren't ever going to see cars like this ever again, and so this is your chance to get something interesting that it's kind of like a little piece of history from the Japanese automotive industry back in the 90s. And so very cool to see this one. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments section, and then check out our website as well. There's a link to that in the description in case you want to buy a car or you want to see what we do. Also check out our other videos on the channel. This is basically what we do with this channel, is look at cars that we've bought and are going to be exported for our customers. So thanks a lot for watching, and have a nice day.